go.
Are we ready?
Ready to roll.
Okay, good evening. This is the Enfield Planning Board. It is Wednesday, the 29th of October, and we are in the DPW conference room and also on the Microsoft Teams platform. I'm calling the meeting to order at 6:32 and members present, starting from my left.
Linda Jones.
Eric Russell.
I'm David Fract.
Ben Jennings.
Nate Miller.
Paul Bianco. Bill Griffin, alternate. Rob Tail, staff.
Okay, members of the public, you've signed in? Sign-in
Yes.
sheet?
Yes.
Okay. First, we have no conceptuals, no hearings. And we will go to Eric Russell with the select board report.
Sure. Our last meeting, fairly uneventful. We talked a little bit about some Enfield history. There's a World War II memorial plaque that we're gonna take ownership of. It was previously in the Enfield High School and that's sort of a storied history throughout town, but we're gonna take responsibility for that, and that's gonna be nice. Dan was actually there about a textile recycling, which is gonna be tried out. Well, I don't think the location's actually been finalized, but probably in Hughes Park. Then formally put the Depot Street property out for RFP, an RFP out for that, and confirmed listing Union Street. So if anybody's interested in those properties, they are open for business. And Union Street is actually just listed with Vanessa Stone Real Estate at this point online. So those sales are being moved forward. Discussion and a new finance review report and Crystal Lake Road speed discussion and things like that. So,
Okay, I have a question on Depot Street.
sure,
Does the state still own the land underneath?
yes.
And is there going to be a rental charge for whoever buys the building to
That,
rent the land?
that would be between, if somebody chooses to purchase the property, that'd be between them and the state. The town would not be involved in that.
Okay,
So the goal for the town at this point with the RFP is any and all proposals would be to sell the building to a new owner, and then it would become whatever they choose. And it would no longer be town property, and the town would not be involved in either the purchase of the land or any of those discussions. That would be between the new owner and the state. That's one of the reasons to go to RFP now, is to try
Yeah.
to sort of remove ourselves. And we'll see if it works or not. We don't know, we don't know what we'll get. So,
anyone else have any questions or comments on the select board report? Rob, land use administrator.
So I was able to give a little bit of an update to some of you guys earlier, but I will just quickly go through it. We had our Home Creators Expo, not this past weekend, but the weekend before, working jointly with Renee, the Regional Planning Commission, as well as Vital Communities. We estimate about 45 people in attendance. We had exhibitors, we had architect, a couple of builders, actually 3 builders, and 3 banks talking about ADUs and how to do them in Enfield. I thought it really came off well. We had it at the Whitney Hall Auditorium up top in the newly refurbished room there. It was really nice. Everybody was comfortable, and we set up the exhibitors sort of around the perimeter. And they had a little bit of a program that Renee had done that showed a really cool video about some neat stuff happening in Massachusetts with modular builds. And we got lots of good questions answered and asked. And I was telling Eric that we've had several people follow up with me subsequent to that event. So I take that as a really good sign. There's some general interest in people pursuing this and getting going. So that's good. Last week I attended, David was there as well. the Gasset hearing that was local in Lebanon at the city council chambers. DOT people, Gasset stands for Governor's Advisory Commission on Intermodal Transit. It's basically having to do with what's called the governor's 10-year plan, which is projects that the DOT plan to do in the next 10 years. As you guys know, Nate had informed us, we had some projects on that list, or at least one big one, that have now sort of been backburnered. They didn't completely cancel it. The engineering work is still proceeding, but the construction had been zeroed out. And they basically explained it to us that state of New Hampshire doesn't have the money to do the work. So they've had to really I don't know, it's like $400 million worth of work that they had on the plan, and they've only got 190 million or something like to that order. That they've had to make a lot of difficult decisions. What projects have just completely been taken off and not just shelved, but thrown in the trash can. Some of them, like ours, that were sort of hanging on by the skin of their chin, still doing some engineering work, but no construction. And then they've sort of prioritized, triaged projects that will continue to move forward. My observations, David, you can chime in if you want, is that it's a state of New Hampshire sort of common problem. They don't have source of revenue. And so they don't have money to spend and invest in transportation infrastructure. I thought Megan from the Regional Planning Commission was really well spoken when she got up and said, you put us through this exercise where we seek input from all of our communities in the Upper Valley, do all this work through what's called the TAC, which I serve on. It's the Transportation Advisory Committee for the Regional Planning Commission, to prioritize projects and score them and sort of elevate them and sort of get them on this list, and then sort of jerk the rug out from underneath us with that. And so it sort of gives us a sort of a problem with our resident communities of the Upper Valley. Like, why would anybody want to participate in that process, going forward, if it's an exercise in futility? It's like all for nothing. So I think that's a common thread. Nate, you've been to a few of those. You probably heard that elsewhere.
I spoke at a number of them in the southern part of the state a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
In
So it's very
different
frustrating.
communities that I serve, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's the project cuts and delays are statewide. It's not just Enfield or
Yeah.
not just the Upper Valley.
Yeah.
$400 million shortfall.
Yeah.
And it's due to a number of factors. We rely heavily on federal aid funding to support the transportation system. That funding is pretty stagnant year over year. Congress is working on reauthorization. Who knows what may happen in that?
I thought that was a big assumption.
But
that
you've
we would
got-
get what we thought we were gonna get.
It's hard to say. I mean, historically, transportation infrastructure has been very bipartisan.
Yeah.
There has been broad bipartisan support for transportation reauthorization. It's never gone down historically,
Yeah.
but you never know.
Yeah.
So you got stagnant revenues and construction cost inflation. So it costs more and you get the same amount of money
Yeah.
to deliver the needs of the state.
And the state sources of revenue, they haven't really touched either. They haven't changed the tolls, which obviously doesn't really help us here because we don't have any toll roads, but
The biggest part, that's the biggest topic of discussion in the part of the state where I work.
yeah.
What to do.
And
There
the
are some
gas
big
tax.
ticket turnpike projects. The Effie Ever Turnpike
Mhm.
expansion is half done. Exit 6 and 7 in Manchester have real safety issues. If you've ever been to Exit 6 in Manchester, I need to tell you that there's some issues there.
Yeah.
And the Bow Concord project, what to do, Bow Junction, and those are all turnpike projects.
Yeah.
And they're all projects that have either been delayed or cut construction funding from the 10-year plan. And so how to fund those is a big question statewide as well.
Yeah. The tolls have been unchanged since 2007.
Yeah, I believe that's correct.
So, I mean, to me, that's
And if anything, we've taken tolls away. Some of the ramp tolls in Merrimack have been taken out since that time.
Yep.
And it's, and that's the same dynamic where funding has been pretty stagnant. Turnpike toll revenue has been pretty stagnant, and the cost of capital and maintenance of the turnpike system has done nothing but go up.
Yep.
Since 2007. So.
Yep.
the chickens are coming home to roost there as well.
Yeah. I will be attending next week, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, the Northern New England chapter of the American Planners Association Conference in Portland, Maine, which I've gotten to go to this conference. It rotates around Northern New England, Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont. So I've been to several. I've always taken a lot of things away from those. It's always really good. We usually do some field trips that are associated with those in the area that we're at. As you guys know, Portland has been sort of ground zero for New England in terms of housing creation and things that are happening on a very large scale over there. So it'll be very interesting to see what they're up to. There's a lot of good training, a lot of good networking. So I'll be able to report to you guys back here next Wednesday when I'm back. We are also participating, town manager, myself, representative from the Regional Planning Commission, and the gentleman that we worked with on our resilience event that we had maybe a couple months ago at the community building. We were there for that. We're going to make a presentation at the New Hampshire Municipal Association annual conference in Manchester about that event that we worked with. That was the Nature Conservancy that sort of did the facilitation for us there. They're basically trying to spread the word that that still is available for other communities. So Ed has signed us up as we're doing a plenary session during that conference. And so that'll be kind of neat. That's about it. I can give you more. I've been certainly fielding lots of calls on the properties, what people have envisioned for those two properties on Union and Depot. So that's going to be interesting. Certainly, I think the sale is probably going to happen sooner than later because people are certainly showing interest there. What's our opening dates? It's a couple more weeks for the Depot, right? Probably.
Yeah, it's something like that. I
Mid-November.
forget the
Yeah.
final submission date.
So still very busy, just lots of stuff happening, lots of people coming in. Had a great visit from our friend right here today. As you know, he's closed on the property on Main Street. So we had a nice conversation about that and other opportunities. So I'm excited. I think I think we're hanging on the precipice of some other big stuff for sure. Particularly with housing.
Okay,
Did we get a building permit report this month?
I did not get you one. I'll send one out tomorrow.
anything else for Rob?
Quick question.
Go ahead, Paul.
Land use article that we worked on last week, I noticed that they hadn't paid their dues.
Who was it?
That was the two cases that we looked at last meeting. That was the garden equipment property and yeah,
The merger.
yeah, the two properties that they wanted to merge.
Westcott.
Westcott, I noticed totaled,
Yeah, so if they haven't paid, and I'm not sure that, so what I do is I get a check from them and we usually have a copy of the check in the file. I don't share those with you because I'm trying to protect people's checking information, but we absolutely make sure we get those payments and we will not issue our decision to them, the approval, until the payment is received.
right, that I remember reading about.
Yep.
But they have paid and.
Yeah, I believe the tractor dealership has paid. I'm not sure about the other one, but we won't record that until we get payment from
Okay.
them, so.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So this must be the month for conferences, because I went to a conference last week, the New Hampshire Fiscal Policy Institute. About 500 people attended, and their major topics were cost of healthcare, cost of housing, rurality, there is such a word. And the overall theme was working hard and something to the effect of working hard but not getting ahead. It didn't really give me any, shockingly new insights. And I think I saw an email from them today, which probably has the link to the PowerPoint decks that were presented, and I will send those to Rob and he can distribute them to you. I think you'd probably be able to get the gist of what was said by going through the PowerPoints. Were you there, Nate?
I was not there, although we did have at our commission, Phil Sletton come and give a presentation to us recently. So I've seen
You
Fiscal
probably
Policy
see-
Institute presentation directly from Phil 2 weeks ago. So
Okay.
but I did not, I was not at this year's conference. I've spoken at that conference in the past.
Have you?
Yeah. And it is well attended.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this was a record for them, and I think they said this is the third year that they did it. So you must have spoken the first
No,
year.
I did it a number of years ago.
Did they?
Yeah. So, yeah,
Whatever.
yeah.
So anyhow, that was informative, lots of data, but not a whole lot of, solutions laid on the table, but that seems to be the case with a lot of things. So that's about it. Oh, one other thing, I think something over 1,100 bill requests have been filed. At least 70 of those have to do with housing. And some of those are a backlash to what was passed by the Housing Committee in the 2025 session. So it should be very interesting to see what stays, what goes, what gets amended. That's about where we are on that.
Did you put any LSRs in?
I've got 4 this year.
Oh, yeah.
One of them exempts the shoreland protection zone from the statewide ADU mandate. 674, 72 or 73. And there's also someone else has filed a bill to just revoke that entire RSA, so we'll see what happens. Another one that I did at the behest of the municipal association, basically restates the ability of the state to ignore local zoning. And it further defines, agencies of the state to include contractors, subcontractors, anybody that is receiving state funding to provide a service such as transitional housing, that kind of stuff, would be exempt from zoning requirements. I'm not particularly sure that I like that, but that's the way the law has been in effect for quite a while. And I was able to make the, public hearing before either the planning board or the governing body, i.e. select board or city council, mandatory rather than optional. So I felt that was kind of a win, to get that in there, and we'll see if it flies. At least that makes the process more transparent. It would provide notification to the public at large and to, the butters in particular. So they would have a chance to comment. I'm not sure how well their comments would be taken by any particular state agency, but at least it puts the process out in front of the public. Another LSR that I filed has to do with recusal. And it seems to be logically inconsistent that a member who recognizes that there is a conflict of interest shall recuse himself, But if the member doesn't recognize the conflict and the board decides to take a vote, that the board vote is non-binding. So I'm proposing that the board vote be majority vote. And if the majority of the board says you should recuse yourself, then that person would be obligated to recuse themselves. And I did one more, what was it? Can't remember. I'll get it to you, Nathan.
Yeah, no worries.
So that's kind of where things are. Any other any questions or comments? Okay, next on the agenda is minutes of October 22. Do we have any questions or comments regarding those minutes? Linda?
Comment. Line 19. The third person listed, Bruce. It's Popkin.
Okay,
He lives 2 doors down from me, so that's how I happen to know that it's misspelled.
okay. Anything else?
Yeah, line 214. The sentence beginning with the word Mr. Kiley stated,
Mhm.
and then all after that in that paragraph. I think what happened there was Dan and I were having a discussion kind of across the board table, and it really wasn't. If you read this, I don't think anyone could even figure out what the heck this just said. I suggest we just strike it. It really doesn't summarize the comments very well.
Board members in agreement with Mr. Jennings?
So are you proposing that basically the sentence that is line 213 and into 214 that ends in water supply, that's it? Then just leave that at that. Mr. Frag stated this hearing will be continued to November 19th, 2025, and the agenda items for that evening will include discussion on drainage, lighting, and water supply, period, and then
Yes,
strike the rest of that paragraph.
yeah.
Did that conversation happen kind of during the break as people were leaving and the mic was
It
open?
was kind of. Dan just kind of came out with something and I responded to it. It really wasn't meant to be I don't think part of the hearing. It just. And at the end of it, we agreed we were saying the same thing and it was just all confusing.
I do kind of agree that the remainder of that paragraph after that sentence doesn't really say anything substantive. I don't know.
No, for the intent of minutes, it's appropriate. It's not,
Yeah, I think, so. I don't think,
yeah,
It does indicate the
the
conversation
first
happened.
sentence is basically what the gist of that whole discussion, including the back and forth between
Right.
Dan and Tim, ended up at. So I think I'm fine with striking the rest of that.
I think maybe we ought to vote on that. Bill, I'm going to ask you to be elevated tonight again. Okay. Tim, you want to put your comment in the form of a motion?
Yeah, I propose we strike. Line 214, beginning with the words Mr. Kiley through the end of line 218.
Do I hear a second?
All second.
Motion made and seconded. We don't have anybody who's online, so all in favor, no board members online. So all in favor indicate by raising your hand and saying aye. Opposed and abstentions. All right. We are going to strike, from Mr. Kiley on line 214 through line 218. Thank you. motion,
One other thing.
Yes.
On that minutes, line 101. It's just editorial. It says, note, the word noted should be noted.
yeah, that makes sense. So line 101, the third word is noted rather than note. Any other questions, comments, or corrections on the minutes? Somebody wish to make a motion to approve the minutes as amended?
So moved.
Motion made by Eric. Do I hear a second?
Second,
All right. Paul Bianco seconded. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed and abstentions. Motion or the the minutes of October 22nd as amended are accepted unanimously. Old business, New Hampshire Hop Grant. Renee, the floor is yours. Tell us what you've been up to since the last time we saw you.
My gosh, a lot of stuff, but probably don't want to hear about me traipsing around with Minnie and Mickey Mouse the other night. Lots of stuff, all good things. I will say too, an update or an addition to the ADU Expo that was held in town here went really well, and again, had some great turnout and great conversations. So was super encouraged and appreciative to hold that event here in Enfield and help the folks answer some questions. And I actually just received this afternoon, we did a survey after the end of it, and we had 12 responses, so it's hard to get a survey response sometimes. But out of those, you know, we had between 30 and 50 people that day at the event, and out of the survey responses, we got 10 of them were saying they're planning on creating ADUs. So that was really exciting to hear, and to help be a hopefully positive resource and connector for that. So that was great. So I believe what was passed around was probably the 3-page document that we had last time we had all gotten together with some of the update edits that we had talked about at the last meeting in the proposed. And I think tonight, my thought is to kind of review some of those again. I know some folks weren't here at that meeting and catching up. And then also some things we kind of left hanging in the air a little bit, question marks. So if there's further discussion on those, fantastic. You know, I think we've done a lot of great work in the downtown and the Enfield Village, and come up with some great parameters, land uses, dimensional control mechanisms there, to provide some relief in the housing. And the Route 4, I know we're hoping to get to tonight, some more, and we can talk about that certainly. And then I think lastly, kind of I want to touch on is that I know we want to talk about November 8th, public forum for the proposed, all this work and proposed changes that we're doing. So, let's see. You have that slideshow. I'm pretty sure you have the idea. It should be the updated one, but.
It's one of these, right? See.
No, that's
Hot zone
the list I gave you.
proposed, the top, second one down, yeah,
There you go.
I think it's that. We kind of went through these last time, you know, we discussed them previous lot coverage versus building lot coverage, and have that, some of that discussion. And we can scroll down one more, should be kind of the definitions that we found and what the difference is. I think we kind of came to the consensus for the downtown to not do a lot coverage barrier. So we've noted that, and I have that in the draft.
What's a lot coverage barrier again?
So there's two ways of looking at it. There's building coverage on a lot and impervious coverage. Building coverage would just, if, you know, the city of Lebanon goes by building coverage, which calculates the area covered by buildings on the lot, and it gives it a percentage allowed on that lot, in that zone. So for example, correct. And so then you get into the versus impervious coverage, which would be your driveways, your sidewalks.
Building footprint.
Yeah, building footprint would be in there for sure. Any, you know, chicken coops, anything else that's taking up impervious space on your lot, parking. So all of that would be counted. And usually what we see for those are 60% by right. And then I think Sunapee had one that was, there's another town that had one that was 60 to 80% by special exception in certain districts if you wanted to need to increase for some reason. So impervious coverage, again, we see that's a lot of times in the lakefront or lakeshore areas and wanting to protect and maintain water quality. Sometimes that's unused, or steep slope areas where you don't want a lot of coverage because you have a lot of steep slopes in that land and the topography. So there's a couple mechanisms that it's often seen in, or in general residential too, such as Lebanon R2 there for a building coverage of 25% just building. So downtown, I think the board came to consensus to try to, again, provide the most relief in the downtown district and not have impervious coverage be a part of the equation for dimensional controls. And a lot of that too, because it could be, you know, you're going to have a lot more sidewalks, you're going to have a lot more parking needed, more commercial, you know, if there's already a lot that is primarily covered, if something were to happen and they were to change the use or it were to burn and have to be rebuilt, would the requirement of needing that green space be added in? And does that then become a hindrance, or what does that look like? So, and again, providing more relief. And then maybe you want to scroll down one. Yeah, Sunapee definition that we reviewed last time for coverage. And Sunapee also uses the 60% in their residential and 80% mixed use or commercial, so their villages and their harbor area. Some of that. And then if I can scroll down, New London appears, I think, mostly in their shoreline overlay district, where they have their definitions. And again, I think this is a great one. You know, we talked about a great one to be, again, if and when the town wants to take a look at their lakefront options. So we can go ahead and scroll down some more. We talked about height, downtown. You know, this is again proposed was 40. I think the consensus last time, and we changed on your, that should be the 50-foot height for downtown. In matching with, I'm gonna blank on the name of the building. I'm so sorry.
Copeland.
Thank you, Copeland. So to kind of, yeah.
I watched the video and
Mhm.
apparently no one had the building height survey in front of them. And I'm not necessarily quibbling with the 50 feet, but just
Mhm.
so you know. The Copeland block is 36 feet from the front face.
Mhm.
It does have probably in the 40s on the backside. Whitney Hall is, from the ground floor to the ridge of the main roof is 50 feet, 6 inches. Yeah. Is that the two references that you were using?
I think so. Yeah, I think we did bring up the,
And that 50 feet is not on the front face, it's
Right.
down by the
Total.
backside, so. That is, so if we say 50 feet, that is. I just wanted to point out that we'd be allowing buildings that are taller than both the Copeland block and Whitney.
I think the idea was 4 stories, basically, and then 50 feet was a reasonable proxy for that.
Mm,
Well, I just want to make sure you knew that.
Might be a hair above between your 30s.
Yeah, and there are I couldn't find any building that 40 feet wouldn't, otherwise in downtown, I don't think there's a
Mhm.
building one that
Mhm.
40 feet wouldn't,
Yeah.
accommodate at present heights.
Mhm. Yeah, so I think, and that's certainly open for more discussion, that's an easy enough, flip of the switch, if you want to go down a couple more slides. So that was what we talked about last time. Maybe scroll down one more. We have kind of what's sitting after the last meeting. In the downtown, I think the frontage was still a question as well.
What?
The frontage requirement was a conversation as well, and we put back in 50 feet. But that's certainly, and or like driveway permit requirements. And the other big thing for downtown that was discussed, and I think all agreed upon, was the side setback to drop that to 0. But shall meet fire code requirements for the buildings. But allowing that more flexibility. And again, only on Main Street.
Yes, there are questions about that.
Sure.
Please, so from, High Street to Main Street, so the upper portion of Main Street, Main Street,
Mhm.
High Street to Route 4, sorry,
Mhm.
the upper portion of Main Street,
Mhm.
where Whitney Hall is, there aren't any buildings that are share a wall. And I couldn't judge from the video and your
Mhm.
discussions whether or not you were suggesting that you wanted that as a possibility in that area. So that's a question. Whereas
Mhm.
from High Street to Old Grove Street, downtown section, there are several buildings that do
Mhm.
share a wall. They're on one side of the street, but,
Mhm.
and I think the idea was that, okay, if you wanted to replace one of those buildings, you just build the same footprint, no
Mhm.
problem there. If, on the other hand, you had and I don't know, we want to make sure, I think we want to make sure we don't talk about scenarios that just are impossible to happen. But there was discussion about buying a lot and then putting up 3 buildings that share walls and then subdividing each of the buildings off as a separate lot. And I don't know how that could even happen with the lot dimensions and existing lots that are down there.
I don't even remember that.
Yeah, I don't need.
I don't either.
Well, that's where it seemed to be headed and, anyway,
Could you identify for me and remind me which buildings on Main Street share walls currently?
and I'm not exactly sure they do. There may be a little, I know there's a gap between where the coffee
Triangle
shop building
store
is and the one next to it. There's a
Yeah.
lane, there's an alley there. And then there's there's like 3 apartment buildings, right, Rob?
I think it's 3.
Do they not share walls?
They do not.
They don't. Okay, so we don't have that at all.
We do not.
So it's something, the question is, do we? Like I say, I couldn't tell from that conversation where that was headed.
I think it was just proposed as a way to provide the owners flexibility, should they redevelop those properties.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Enable them to do it, should redevelop.
Yeah, like they certainly would never be required to, but if they wanted to, they could.
right. Or somebody wanted to build townhouses.
That was the comment.
That could certainly happen.
That was the comment that drew that conversation to a close. Well, it's the same as a townhouse.
Mm. But I don't think we were really thinking, I wasn't imagining it between Route 4 and High Street. That there'd be, well. I
I
guess
think the
I'm,
conversation came up with if there was a disaster and they burned down, and now we have a clear lot to work with, what possibly could happen.
I think I was the one that brought up that scenario as a hypothetical. And if I recall my words, what if, 60 and 61, I hope I got the numbers right. What if those two Davidson buildings burn down? And whoever owns the building that the coffee shop is in, which is the next building over, decided that they wanted to buy the two lots that had burned down and tear their building down and just make one big lot out of it. What constraints would they have? That was my hypothetical.
Well, they wouldn't have, I don't think they would have any if they merged all of those lots and built however many townhouses they wanted to build there. The only problem that comes in, where the problem comes in is when you want to say, this townhouse is a separate lot, that townhouse,
Well,
separate lots.
by definitions, townhouses are owned individually.
Condominium and bands.
But it's one property.
But is it, yeah, I mean. I think that makes sense to be able to do that. I'm not sure the, practicality of it. I mean, the chances that the scenario happened, that we had a downtown fire and then you still got individual lots with individual owners at the end of the
Right.
day. So
But
Well, I
someone
then what would have to
someone
happen?
could buy
Mhm.
all three lots or decide to eliminate that 8-foot alleyway between the two apartment buildings and make better use of the space. There's a lot of possibilities, or they could just decide, we want to tear down what's there and put in a more modern structure that's conducive to, perhaps, different tenants, or perhaps, put back commercial on the first floor. Because Enfield, at some point in the future, might have a booming downtown
It's
and,
just an enabling provision that allows flexibility. I mean,
Yeah.
traditional New England villages have connected buildings in their downtown. We happen to not, but there are places on Main Street that will be redeveloped at some point in the future, and providing maximum flexibility for that Main Street area to resemble a New England village if and when it's redeveloped. This is just a mechanism that enables some of that.
And I'm not saying I don't agree with all, I do, I guess I'm just trying to figure out how
Yeah.
what is the mechanism? What do we need to say in the ordinance to enable that to happen?
I mean, so it would basically just be, there's a caveat that we've drafted in there right now that says, 10-foot side setback, 10 feet in the downtown, this is in the downtown district. So side setback, 10 feet, with the exception of Main Street, in the downtown district. So it would be Route 4 all the way to the end of that colored line, wherever that end is. And, that along Main Street and downtown, 0 setback, requirement, or side setback requirement, pending fire code requirements are met. And so it just allows that flexibility. And I think something too, sometimes, to Nate's point, it's kind of like the redevelopment opportunities. And I think a lot of times it's easy to look at the lots as existing today, but even as like talking to Rob earlier too, like it's lot line adjustments and lot mergers happen all the time, and our maps are constantly changing every year. The ArcGIS gets updated, so it's lots existing today is a good way to look at it, but just always remembering that there's an abstract component to planning, and like it can change and flex, but in the end, what are you comfortable seeing there? And so again, I think that, Main Street, I think of, I was in Hanover last weekend and looking down Main Street on Hanover, you have the row of the buildings that are together and there are no, there's a couple that are,
Yeah, let me.
Built
interrupt you.
walls.
So-
Yeah.
But the problem here is how to state that and not cause some unintended consequences. And the one I'm thinking of is, okay, if we're going all the way from Route 4, all the way down to Oak Grove Street, the entire that length of Main Street, we're gonna say that's zero setback. So what happens if I've got directly across from Whitney Hall, I've got a nice Victorian, Edwardian kind of structure building there with pretty decent setbacks to the existing properties. If one of those adjacent properties burns down, are we saying that new owner can build right up to their property? So now this Torian has very little room between it and the building adjacent to it. I'm not sure we want to do that. Do we?
Would fire code come in at
Yeah.
that point?
Yeah, the fire code wouldn't allow them to do it.
How so?
Because they'll need a certain because you'll need a certain setback from the existing building in order to meet the fire code, because the fire code's applied to all the buildings.
Well, yes, but Rob, could you put up the downtown map that's on that thumb drive?
For the sake of time, I'd also suggest we're discussing a very, very corner case.
Yeah, this is,
Very,
yeah,
very
we're
long.
20 minutes into this discussion and we haven't even gotten to
This is-
stuff for the.
Why don't we give Tim 3 more minutes
I mean,
to discuss this, and then we'll have to move on.
So one of these 10,
EVD district, down second from the bottom. Yeah, so if you look at some of those buildings along the upper part of Main Street, again, across from Whitney Hall, point to where the farmer's daughter place is there.
Way
That
at the
one,
end.
and the next one too, next to it. You got a lot of distance between those buildings. You could definitely build to the property line and still meet the fire code. Same thing with, the bank, or even,
Well, what do you want, Tim?
I
Do
don't
you want a
know.
downtown that looks like a New England downtown, or do you want rural, large lot housing? And, if it's gonna redevelop, one day, maybe it will, maybe it won't. But if this, if it ever does, you can have something that looks more like a downtown than,
Well, I'm just saying I think there are some cases here where this is not going to be a desirable end.
For example, what you're saying is that this house is already very close to the line. So if there were someone, if these 2 lots got taken and someone built right to there, it leaves very little space. Oops.
Well, and then I think the fire code.
Fire code would preclude that.
So, or do you just put in something that if both lot owners agree?
I don't know could you do that? I mean,
I have not seen that.
Not saying it doesn't mean it's not allowed.
Right. I don't know how that would be.
no, if you own the lot and you've got a lot, you've got existing setbacks. Let's just say they're 10 feet, say we leave it at 10 feet. I think you could do anything you want on the lot. You could have several townhouses on the lot, but the setback from one end of the townhouse to the other to the adjacent property. I'm not sure we really want to go all the way to the property line.
I think the original discussion had to do with adjacent buildings, so there wasn't a 10-foot or 20-foot space between each one of them that,
Well, like right in the center of town there, Eric, can you point that?
Between these.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
it's
that's,
time to move on. Can we come back to this perhaps after the forum when we have to do some tweaking? And go on to the
Sure.
next thing, Renee.
Sure. Let's see. I think the 10-foot for rear still was there, 50-foot height. And then Enfield Village, I think we got through a good bit of that, and also,
No, this is different than what we
Well-
put up with.
this is, so the Enfield Village was what we proposed last time, a 1/4 acre if on water sewer, a 1/2 acre if not. Additional acreage per dwelling unit above 4, not including ADUs. So if someone's building a fourplex, 4 and above, I think, and then a 1/4 acre of land. The maximum is a conversation topic to kind of discuss tonight if folks want to talk about max in the Enfield Village proposal. And what's the other thing? But the frontage, we kept it at 15 feet unless, again, more conversation happens. Talk about the driveway permits, flag lot, back lots. So was there something I missed, Eric, on the Enfield Village?
Yeah, I thought we would put forth 1/8 of an acre. I said,
Oh, for the minimum lot size, is
yeah,
that
and we
quarter?
didn't really discuss the
Yeah.
additional acreage. We never really got there. I don't think there should be any additional acreage requirement.
I recall you said 4 unless it was commercial, and that would make it 5.
The site plan review for
That-
5 or more.
That's the site plan review by,
Mhm.
but this, the second line, I don't think we should have that
So-
line at all, is my opinion.
So what this does is if you don't have that, if someone wants to put, so minimum lot size 1/4 acre per dwelling unit, per one. So if someone wants to put 2 or 3, they need to have a 1/2 acre or 3/4 of an acre.
No, it's not 1/4 acre per dwelling unit, 1/4 acre lot, and then they can build on it. If
So
they can-
how many dwelling units per lot is allowed?
Whatever they can fit. But
They
would
can
have-
go up.
But they would have to have, they have to meet the height requirements, they have to meet the setbacks, they have to have parking requirements.
Mhm.
Those would put the limit on the number that they can do,
Mhm.
not an arbitrary acreage that they have.
if you look at this handout, the second page that I
Mhm.
provided, the sketch on there. Eric and I have been kind of working on this and attempting to model what really the reality might be actually on the ground.
It's basically just letting the lot determine what can happen.
Right. And
Yeah.
if you have an 1/8 of an acre lot, you're not going to be able to put 10 units on it because you can't have 10 parking spaces and a building that
Right.
meets the setbacks and has the height requirements. You just can't do it.
So what's can you remind me what current is today for most of the Enfield Village or R1,
Is-
a 1/4 acre per dwelling unit?
No.
For R1, this.
So it is, okay.
Well, it's debatable.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
There's a there's a conflict in the way it's worded in our ordinance, and at one point, this board debated it for a couple hours, and we could not come to an agreement as to what it says.
Okay,
But
I think
It
we're
is-
split in the middle.
it was split in the,
okay.
however, the way it's been
Because
interpreted
Eric
is,
wasn't here.
That's probably that.
the way it's been interpreted is a quarter acre per dwelling unit,
Mhm,
like you said. So
Mhm.
let's just assume that's what it is.
uh-huh.
And what Eric and I are saying is just do away with that. There's no minimum lot size whatsoever.
Mhm.
Um,
For a dwelling unit, yeah. So if someone had a 5 acre lot out in Enfield Village, they can put however many units
Mhm.
or structures or buildings that they want to on that one lot.
As long as they meet all of the other requirements.
Which would be
So they-
setbacks,
Setback. Well,
Parking.
they wouldn't have setbacks.
height,
That's where the CB has been. The CB has been whatever the land will support.
Mhm.
Did you see this drawing that they
Yes,
put out in there?
yeah, yep, I had that from last time, yeah,
Mhm.
yep.
So I was surprised
Yeah,
at what
okay.
you can get on a tenth of an acre.
Yeah.
You know, you can clever, you can get a nice home and quite a lot of activity on that.
Mhm.
Maybe not a two-car garage, it depends on what what you build.
Mhm.
And these drawings were assuming that we would maintain the 40% requirement for permeable surfaces. I think if we want to go that way, that might be the best way to look at it. You can do anything you want with your lot as long as 40% of it remains permeable.
So a 60% impervious coverage.
Yeah.
Maximum.
And once you get above about, let's see, once you get up to about an eighth of an acre lot, I don't have a drawing of that. That, the setbacks alone pretty much provides the permeable surfaces
Mhm.
and
Right.
you can encroach on those setbacks with a driveway, but even then, again, I've just been calculating all this with these examples, and it's really easy to fit most everything a person would want on a small lot like that, and still easily meet.
Mhm.
And I mean, the other side of that is everything you're saying about, what could potentially happen on a tenth of an acre lot and, what could be supported with that sort of impervious surface cap works really well potentially for a small lot. When you start to get a 3 acre lot, a 5 acre lot, and you're talking about all of a sudden your cap is 60% pervious on a 5 acre lot, and I can do 40-foot high building,
Mhm.
I could have the Wild West going on a 5 acre lot, according to those. There's no guardrail
No
there
dwelling
for
unit cap.
what happens on a large lot. The use case that you're talking about works well on a small lot, but there aren't, if you look through the EV, there's a lot more of the, 2, 3, 4 acre type lots than the tenth of an acre lot.
I don't think that's true.
They're not
Mm.
many. You want to put that drawing up? There's actually 3 of them we'd have to look at.
It's in your folder again? Which one?
EV District North-South,
This one?
yeah. Yeah, start with that one. Oh,
Some good sized lots there.
not
So
that drawing.
most of those lots that are big are not on sewer. So it wouldn't apply.
Well-
There are a couple.
But we're only saying a half an acre. If not water and sewer.
Well, that's not my directory.
Oh, sorry, those were ours, I think.
There you go. Try that one.
So the water and sewer, even if it doesn't have sewer and you have to septic,
Yeah, sewer ends about right here, up Main Street, Maple rather. Goes to top of the hill on, May. I mean, you do have some larger lots, here, that's Merle Ford. Very buildable lot, but the sewer ends there. You know, you could extend it up perhaps.
It will be, presumably.
Yeah, yeah, I think that. Anyway, these lots, things can be done, but you know, you're talking about. Do these owners wanna do anything?
If the only cap is that I can have a cap of 60% for impervious surface. And I can do whatever I want, as long as I stick to a 40-foot building height and I have 60% of my lot or less impervious, I can do a lot, a lot.
Yeah.
Big time. So I could change the character of that whole area in ways that you can't even fathom with not
So
having.
what would you suggest as a governing mechanism?
I mean, there are probably ways to have a meaningful upzoning of the area that more resemble a traditional type. You've got 4 units per acre essentially right now that's allowed. You could upzone that significantly, potentially, and have enough guardrails where, you know, you wouldn't have that scenario.
yeah. I mean, I think the proposed is instead of 4 an acre, 4 on a quarter acre if you're on water sewer, 4 on a half an acre if you're not on water sewer. And I think that's still an upzoning, but comparable to feeling of the neighborhood.
Yeah, I mean,
Within
the one takeaway that I definitely remember when talking about this district at the first public forum was people were open to more as long as it still felt like a rural village in Enfield. And there are ways you could upzone that in a way where substantially more is allowed there, but it still resembles a rural village.
So one of the challenges with that form was different tables had very different coverage. I know our tables had very, very different input. You know, that was good, but leaving it as written does very little to change from what we have now. Though if we allow the 4-unit building on the quarter acre, that does make a substantial flexibility for homeowners.
So the gentleman here, I forget your name. Adam.
I'm the long skinny one, yeah, right where your hand is, yeah, kind of
Right
weird
there.
L shape.
How many units would you dream of putting there?
Like, practically speaking, I mean, if I could across 5 acres do something like 40, that'd be amazing, but I think it'll probably end up being closer to 30 and that would feel dense, but trying to have it be kind of cottagey, which is where a quarter acre lot works really well. But I also really appreciate what you're saying about, you know, I guess for me, like, I love everything you all are talking about. If it freaks people out too much and they don't vote for it, like it's all a waste of effort. So I'm very appreciative of the balance you have to strike in doing this. A few other practical considerations that exist on a lot of land around here is, you know, wetland conditions. There's a lot of just rocky conditions that you can't build on anyway, or it'll be prohibitively expensive to do anything with the land. A lot of steep slopes in some of these areas, not all of it. Like on my site, there are wetland conditions. I've done my wetland delineation. And so, yeah, there's kind of 5 acres of pretty flat land, but there is wetland there. So you kind of carve back. And that's why I'm kind of in between 30 and 40 with the quarter acre lots is what I would try and aim for.
So 5
Sorry,
acres
8 acre.
would give you, at 4 per acre would give you 20. Right?
Mhm.
And you'd rather do 30 or 40.
Yeah,
You think 30 or 40 could realistically be fit in there?
I think it could be. And I mean, I'm working closely with people that are much better at site planning than I personally am. I mean, there's a lot of really great sites in other areas where they get, you know, 10 to 12 units an acre and it looks great. And I mean, I have photos I can show you. Actually, I think in my car, I have a whole book. I can, like, it's a good example of that. But it is tied to kind of cottagey, like more single family feeling, right? Like a village feel, not multifamily. We're building garden style apartments on Main Street.
Is that the Tucker property?
When Silvermeer previously owned it,
Okay, yeah,
I think so. but I don't
Yes.
know.
At the Crate property, here's large,
Mhm.
there, that one's big.
Can I throw an idea out? Just brainstorming. You're allowed 4 units on a quarter acre by right. 3 additional units for each quarter acre, or 1 additional unit for each quarter acre. That brings you to 7 units per acre as a cap. You can do your 4 on a quarter acre. But each additional unit up to 1 acre requires a quarter acre. So that brings you all in to 7 units per acre, which is almost close to a doubling of existing density, but with the carrot of you're allowed to have 4 on a quarter acre, which allows that kind of case, the small lot case of, that you've been working through.
What would the thought be on the existing lots that are smaller than a quarter acre, of which there are a substantial number? Would they be at the 4 units as well for existing lots?
Well, most of those, you could do an ADU,
Well,
280.
but, well, any lot you can do that on.
Mm.
If it's a single family home, any single family homeowner has that right. So yeah, so anybody can have 3 units effectively regardless.
So run those numbers by again now, so
You can have 4 units by right on a quarter acre lot. And you can have 1 additional unit for each quarter acre up to 1 acre.
So if you have a half an acre, you can have 5. Yeah,
Correct.
3/4 of an acre, you can have 6. If
Exactly.
you have an acre, you can have 7.
That's
That's what he's suggesting.
and that would be regardless of any setbacks or wetland areas or anything like that. You're not, that's the entire parcel.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know, what do you think, Eric?
So for a 5 acre lot, that puts him at 5 times the 4 is 20 plus the 3 for the original. So 23 for that hypothetical 5 acre lot.
No,
Well, 5 times,
7 times 5.
well, but you only have 1 lot,
Yeah.
so you only get your 4 in 1 time.
You only get your 4 1 time.
Right.
Another, and so I don't know what the right procedure is for me, being able to chime in or being invited or not be able to chime in. In terms of what you all would like to see built, to the extent that it is something that is a for sale product that like families can buy, the smaller lot, I think, works really well. And the idea of adding this additional density works well if it's apartments, but outside of apartments, the ability for me to subdivide to a smaller unit of land is how I can produce a less expensive for sale home at the end of the day. There's other ways I can accomplish this in like a condo regime, but that does also add more legal expense and liability, which translates to a higher cost as well. So there's kind of these balancing things on the legal side and the liability side for the builder and developer. I mean, to me, the simplest for me is, can I have a fee simple lot that I can build like a cute cottage and sell it to a family that wants to live there, and they own the home, they own the land, and they're not tied up in a larger kind of condo association that gets registered with the state. There can still be a homeowners association to take care of common area maintenance, or it could be even simpler. But I think that's the simplest way to create the cheapest version of what that house could be for a family that would want to live here in Enfield in kind of a cottage community.
So to that end, having no minimum lot size, only the minimum lot size is defined by, oh yes, I can build a cottage on it of this, a small cottage, still have a driveway, a parking area, whatever. I think we've kind of accomplishing that, are we not?
I hope we're making progress in that direction.
Another thing that
So-
I wanted to bring up, like in relation to like that, I think we've talked about a little bit of this project last time, not me talk without you here. But it's a great project and I think our team is super excited about it. I think where sometimes these larger scale or like, you know, the above what your proposed zoning lot sizes are for dwelling unit or size is the cluster development or a PUD. And so does a cluster development in the EV then allow greater flexibility for a 5-acre lot to have the 40 houses?
Honestly, I think you just overcomplicate it. If we want to allow it, allow it. And Nate's, I'm leaning towards, I think Nate's onto something. Because the person who wants to subdivide, which are not very many, can go to whatever lot size. So what Nate's looking at is not worrying about the small ones. Not worrying about the subdivisions, you know, the family that wants to divide their really small lot into two so that their kids can each inherit something instead of having to sell the family home or whatever. He's concerned about there's not very many of them, but the big lots, which there's a few of. And if somebody wanted to keep that together, what limit do you put? And I think you're at a reasonable spot if somebody's not going to subdivide.
Yeah, and something, you know, or I think, I hope, a reasonable spot that while an upzoning might still be palatable and acceptable
Yeah,
to
no.
the neighbors, you know, the neighborhood, the
Right.
people of that district,
The voters.
the voters.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, like I said, I would still like to see us allow smaller lots, because there's a number because one of the things I'd like to see us do is make all the lots in the village conforming. Because one of our existing problems is that we have lots of non-conforming lots. And so people have to go get a special exception to do anything on a number of these lots. Because that's one of our problems. But I think for somebody not subdividing, Nate's in a reason, you know, that's a very reasonable suggestion that, you know, everybody gets their 4-unit building, because that's, you know, primary residence level and it gives flexibility, but then for
All right, so
more than,
let me see if I get this.
Yeah.
So we got a 5-acre lot.
Yep.
And just because the lay of the land and whatever,
You only have one drive.
I want to subdivide it into as many small lots as I can.
Mhm.
We've got no restriction on that.
well, you do though, because there's no big lot where you can put in a ton of driveways.
Well, I understand that,
Mhm.
but there's no dimensional requirements. There's no formula I have to, it's all about what I can design to fit the land.
That's how I feel, yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
But we
But
haven't,
you could do a shared driveway.
Yeah, no, but,
I'm not sure we've sorted out
Yeah.
frontage and stuff yet, but yeah.
right,
Yeah.
no, but that's another, yeah, I mean, it's, if they can do it on their lot, then they can do it.
Okay. So,
And in fact, it might encourage people to do cottage style things rather than big buildings.
You can get more density by subdividing into smaller pieces, but. you
And
can't
it might
have-
actually encourage more of a village feel than
Yeah.
big buildings.
okay, so now if I got the 5-acre lot and I don't want to subdivide it,
Mhm.
that's where your
Correct.
formula comes in.
Yep.
Is that? what
Yeah,
we're
no,
saying?
that's basically what, yeah.
Okay.
So if you have a 5-acre lot, I'm just to make sure I understand this. You've got an automatic 4, because you've got the 1/4 acre minimum, you got 5 acres, you got
Mhm.
4.
What if I have a 3-acre lot?
And then,
Well, if you got a
So-
3-acre lot, you've got 4 + 3 is 7, and then 4 and 4.
Right.
What's that? What's that come out?
So for your first acre,
15.
so what he's saying is for your first acre, you get 7.
Right.
For every acre above that, you get 4 more.
Okay.
That's
On
the way
one lot.
he's outlined.
Yeah.
On one lot.
So the first acre is 7?
Yeah,
Okay.
And then acres above 1 are 4 per acre.
Yep.
I mean,
Why is the first acre 7?
because we're saying that everybody can build that 4-unit building on their lot. Regardless of the lot size.
On a quarter, yeah, or
Regardless of the lot size, you can have 4 units on your lot. You have 100 acres, you can have 4 units. You have quarter acre, you can have 4 units.
And this is multifamily, it's like a fourplex, not
Yeah.
4 single family homes.
Correct.
yeah.
So make
Well,
sure.
no,
Because
we
single
haven't,
family homes, that kicks it over to a whole other demo, because now you have single families and ADUs
no.
on a,
If it's on a single lot, it's not if it's not single family homes, if
Right.
you have multiple buildings.
You, you could do condos, townhouses.
Right, but condos and townhouses don't get the ADUs because they're not part of a
Right.
single family home.
Right,
Right.
So you can only have 1 single family home per lot. Regardless of whether you have multiple buildings or 1 building.
well, okay, well, what if I had a 1 acre lot and I wanted to put 4 single family homes up and retain ownership and rent them?
This is technical language. They're not single family homes from an ADU perspective. If you have 4 buildings on a single lot.
That's not where I was headed.
Yeah, but that's where she was headed.
What I'm saying is if I got a 1 acre lot divided into, I want 4 single family homes.
Yep.
I'm not gonna subdivide them.
Right.
I'm gonna rent these 4 homes.
Yep.
4 mobile homes. I don't know what
Yep.
they are. That's okay.
but you can't have ADUs with that.
Correct.
So tell me why I can't have an ADU, that's single family.
Because your lot is not a single family home lot. Your tax card is not gonna say single family home.
Yeah.
Multifamily.
All right.
But multifamily definition is it's joined with a wall.
Well, we can go to definition of multifamily.
Yeah, I think we might need a word or two there to.
So
Can you
multifamily,
clarify this?
Well,
it's cottage cluster.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of,
Cottage
it gets,
cluster.
with the ADUs, it gets kind of complicated. It's like technically right now,
Mhm.
in R1, I can build 12 units an acre. I can subdivide into quarter acres. On each of those, I can have a primary with an attached ADU
Right.
and a detached
Mhm.
ADU.
Right.
And for every quarter acres, right now, by right in zoning, I can have 3 units.
Right.
And so we're actually now kind of talking about a down zone, with kind of like a partial up zone. If it's a small lot,
Well, no, because that would remain.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about subdividing it.
Yeah.
And so that is actually an upzone, because you go from having the 3 now to
Yeah.
4, with what we just discussed.
if you were to subdivide.
If you were to subdivide, we're really only talking about the big lots. Where people don't subdivide.
And then with ADUs, you also have ownership requirements right now in the zoning, I believe, where it has to stay under one ownership. So you could rent that.
We
Yes,
removed
under
that.
one.
You're right, okay, interesting. Got it.
The detached ADU is not a second single family home.
No.
That's
No,
not, you know, when you
no,
have,
it's,
right.
it doesn't.
right,
meet
but what I'm saying, like, all we have to do is say, like, if you have multi-units, you're not. You're either a single family home with 2 ADUs or you're not. And if you have 3 buildings, you're not. You don't meet our current ADU rules.
3
But
buildings.
if one of those buildings was a single family,
What I'm saying, if you have 4 individual homes, your lot is not a single family home lot.
Yeah, I just think we need to add a word or two
That-
to
now-
okay.
confirm.
You see what I'm saying, right? Like,
yes,
right. You're not, right. This is definitions.
this is
Multifamily.
very specific
Right.
wording, but yeah, I
Right,
get it now.
Right, yeah. Just because you're living in a detached building doesn't make it a single family home by the definition.
So-
We agreed?
So going back to his hypothetical, I'm so sorry to keep
No, no,
using your a lot.
The puzzle.
So he's got the 5 acres. He wants to put on the cottage court homes. There are gonna be some single family homes in there. those single family homes are not allowed to have ADUs because it's on one lot.
Correct.
So it's now kicked over instead into this
It's a,
new definition of multifamily lot.
right.
Okay, so that's what we need is a multifamily lot definition.
Definition.
And we have had other people come in conceptually and ask about building a second home on a
Yeah.
single lot.
Mhm.
So it also would address that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that guy on 4A about
Right.
a year ago.
Right.
Who wanted to build in the back for
Correct.
his,
Mhm.
And he was concerned with the size of
Extended family.
ADUs, he wanted bigger.
yeah,
It would allow that, but then you can't have ADUs because you're now,
right. So if we call those multifamily lots.
Yeah.
And we come up with a definition that, I think that works.
Yeah.
And the question of ownership was really a matter for the mortgage holder and
Yeah.
the legal people to decide on their own. That's not really an issue for us.
no, I think your
Yeah.
most likely scenario is this, the family builds multifamily,
Yeah,
multi-generational housing on.
yeah, or, build something and the rest get rented out as income.
Right. So I'll ask, you just ask one last time, so do we really want the quarter acre particularly because of the existing lots, or do we wanna use dimensions for the rare case where somebody subdivides? Maybe it's not as rare as I think, but
What are you asking?
the quarter, the minimum lot size, the quarter acre, if on water and sewer.
I mean, I think because a lot of them don't meet that quarter acre size. We ought not to burden the people with having to go for a variance
Mhm.
to the
Mhm.
zoning board every time they want to do something. It's just like the Lakeshore region.
They would be pre-existing now.
Well, if
Or
you
they-
had a,
they-
Even if they're pre-existing, we make them go to the ZBA.
Yeah, because they're non-conforming. It's been a big burden for folks in Enfield.
But they're okay. I have not seen
It's
that
just been-
before. No, that's okay. I haven't seen it interpreted that way before.
That
If
has
there was
been
a
our
lot-
practice, rightly
Yeah.
or wrongly.
Yeah.
No,
And
that's
if it's wrongly, maybe we ought to,
no.
take a look at that. But I'm sure a lot of people would be very
I guess
upset.
if they're changing they're changing something in the dimensional control. Or they're adding to it, you're saying. They're doing an addition to their home that's in non-conforming?
Yeah. They're adding a deck
Gotcha,
or they want to
gotcha.
put in a garage.
Okay.
Or a shed.
oh,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Can they put an apartment over their garage?
If they get the exception to build the garage.
And that will then be an ADU.
Mhm.
so no minimum lot size in the EV district, right?
Well, that's
Oh, no.
the question, is what do we want to put there?
Well, I
Okay
think,
with that.
again, going back to the palatable for the community and for the voters, because again, if you're doing this, and this is kind of to be determined, but if this is all going as one kit and caboodle to vote, like was kind of mentioned earlier, was folks were comfortable with seeing existing conditions today.
Mhm.
Okay, in the neighborhood and in the Enfield Village.
If we went to an eighth of an acre, we
I
would,
think.
we would hit the vast majority. There'd be a few on Mill Street, there'd be a couple on Flanders Street, there'd be a few. But there'd be,
I think if we.
I'm with you, Tim.
We had no minimum lot size requirement, but we had the Nate amendment.
For what though? There's no
Going down
lot
in
size.
history.
For a quarter acre,
Yeah.
no?
And still, you
You'd
have to figure out how to word it.
But you can still take what he said and do it.
If you're not gonna subdivide that lot, then the Nate amendment applies.
The nice thing about the quarter acre plus the, additional quarter acre is it's a number that's familiar to
Mhm.
the people of that neighborhood. It's a number
Yeah.
they understand. It's a number they voted for in the past. They,
I
it's
actually,
easy to explain.
I actually I actually don't think you have to make any changes to the larger lot, what you suggested. It's really just for the really small lots. What do we want to allow for a really small lot?
Well, and after my.
Yeah.
Analysis, looking at 1/10 of an acre,
Yeah.
Mhm,
you can have a very comfortable existence on 1/10 of an acre.
mhm.
I would love to move there. I hate mowing my 1/3 of an acre. So
Yeah.
I mean.
I mean, it's something we can, maybe we broach it at the public forum and kind of see,
Oh, we've got to figure out what we're doing.
yeah, that too. So I guess we can put pause on that too if we want, but,
I think we've got something here
Yeah.
that maybe you could wordsmith.
Yeah.
You know, 4 units on the first up to 1/4 of an
Mhm.
acre.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, no, I think, no,
it's something like that.
I think you can still use what Nate said. Essentially figure out a way to have no lot size so that every lot in town is now conforming. And homeowners don't have to go to the ZBA to do anything. And you still have like your big lots, and then if people want to subdivide, they have to meet all the other requirements. So they're not gonna, you know, do something unattractive. And then with the big lots, you have what sounds like a pretty reasonable limit to me.
Yeah, and because I think it's not the cottage courts, it's not the little housing tract development, whatever that people are concerned about in the Enfield Village District. Remind ourselves, we're only talking about that.
mhm, right,
It's the 5-story apartment building that's got 60 units in it. That's what,
And they put a limit on that. which-
yeah,
We're not
This-
gonna allow that. We're not gonna get it.
Right.
right, and I think that's where, yeah, I think
but
that's the limit.
we can have under your scenario, if I wanted to put one apartment building, as many units as I could get on that 5-acre garden, how many could I have?
23.
Let's see,
5 acres.
7 + 4 + 4 + 4, 23, yeah. You have 23.
Okay.
Which is for perspective, you know, the apartment building that's kind of next to Linda, couple doors down from Linda's on Route 4.
Yeah, the big one.
I think that has, is it 11 or 12 units in it?
9.
9? It's only 9, okay. So that has 9 units, so, and that's obviously a smaller lot, so you're talking 2.5 times that on a 5-acre lot.
Yeah.
That seems like a reasonable.
I'm with you.
So what is the best use of our time for the remainder? Because we're already an hour and a half
Yes.
in, and we do have
Already
to
an hour.
figure out, at
Yeah.
least have some idea what we're gonna do
Yeah.
at the public forum, which is, what is
Yeah.
it?
A
Oh,
week and a half,
a week from Saturday?
yeah,
A week from
yes,
Saturday.
which
So-
we did start some PR at the ADU Expo. We had a lot of great questions.
We
and
do a little bit on the Route 4 district.
We do,
So,
yes, we
I
had
was
the
gonna-
same discussion. We still
Yeah.
have to get through, you know, the rest of this
Mhm.
and figure out what is our
Time,
agenda next Wednesday. We're meeting next Wednesday.
Yeah. It's
We are.
We're working on
On
this.
the
goal.
5th.
oh,
So we
Yeah.
could potentially refine Route 4 next Wednesday, right?
so I will say, I
Yeah.
can touch on some Route 4 things to give.
But does that give Renee enough time to prepare what we do for the following Saturday?
We know what we're doing.
So let me go through a couple things. Can you pull up my slide deck again? Sorry, or go back to the,
Right across the street. But most of the
Yeah,
ones
there you
are
go.
back.
There's some really good information, and if, we can try to show this around too. So also to keep in mind that's happening. So the Mascoma Lake Watershed build out analysis. Did anyone know that that was also happening lately? Okay. So, the Mascoma Lake Watershed, there's been an initiative going on that. And so there's been some really good information that came out of this, report that was just finalized. I believe it's final, not quite draft. So I pulled this is from their report. So this is not my, artwork. But this is just a general population growth, really good information to review. And then if you want to slide down to the next one, we really nicely had some zoning of your neighboring towns, which I thought was interesting. So always good to have, again, thinking public forum and incomparable to know what's going on around us. What their setbacks are. And again, this was for a build out analysis. So they had to look at all of these existing conditions today and if it were to be built out in the next years, what that looks like. And what their minimum lot size requirements currently are as of this summer, I believe it was. And a couple other towns there. And then we talked about some recommendations. We talked about cluster a little bit last time. And again, kind of comes up today, but I understand if that's not, palatable right now, to do it that way and instead go this route. The Route 4 district we touched on very quickly last time, just a little bit. We're hoping to get for more of that today. There is some more topic on that. If you want to scroll to the next one. So the team had gotten together a little bit and we talked about some of the Route 4 district and in our reviewing and such. And after the last meeting, I think the biggest thing was we don't know form-based code. So that needs to go, doesn't work. There's a lot of other stuff kind of at play here. And so talking to a couple of my team members and stuff, it's like, is the Route 4 district amendments palatable at this time? We can certainly still work through and draft something. I'm not sure that it would, maybe our recommendation would be to pause on Route 4 potentially. Because there just needs to be a little bit more information and research into it. A couple things that come up is, community temperature pertaining to traffic on Route 4, conversations around urban compact, that's been kind of tossed around. It will need the certified letter to all as it's under 100 lots. So there's a little bit more lift for staffing there. The Lovejoy Brook floodplain that's in this Route 4 corridor that we're talking about, expanding more density and things like that. How does that impact this floodplain area there and potential flooding? And so being cognizant of kind of the land terrain, the state of New Hampshire right now with the investment on Route 4. And then also the team had noted the wellhead protection plan that also touches along Route 4 that UVLSRPC did back in 2015, 2016. That some of the properties there are within that protection plan. So being cognizant and aware of that as we look at this does need some, a bit of time and research that maybe this scope at this time, again, it might be recommended just to dive into it further.
So we know what the boundary that we want for the Route 4 district.
Okay.
And that is different from the boundaries that currently exist.
Yes.
At the very least, we're gonna have to change the boundary because that affects the other two districts in the village. Then we have a lengthy section in our existing ordinance about Route 4
Mm-hmm.
that we'd have to leave in place, I guess, that would apply to Route 4.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, what do you guys think?
I feel like we're closer than you think. We've already gone through the land use table for Route 4. That's the most critical piece. And we have the map. And if we do the dimensional controls and we have all the pieces for Route 4 done, I guess I'm not sure what else we would be waiting for.
Yeah, and I'm well aware of the wellhead protections. I didn't think about the floodplain, but I think takes care of itself.
That doesn't impact our decisions on land use. If somebody that's a real problem for those property owners, but if they can figure out a way to do something with it, then, that's not, or if somehow can be dealt with. I don't think that impacts like the land use table because it's a floodway.
There are some challenges with it that do require some thought. On one hand, what we enable with land use, especially when you start talking about things like frontages, access management is
Yeah.
a big, big deal on Route
Yeah.
4 and how access to land is controlled and urban compact, boy, that's
We,
tough
we,
sell for me. I mean,
No, we-
you would take that bridge and
I'll
everything
make a
else.
statement of, we should not wait for urban compact discussions
Right.
before doing zoning. We just, that is not a reason to wait.
But like, is the reason that came up that somebody didn't want to put a left turn pocket in?
No,
To
I-
access some property? So, and we were gonna take over Route 4 to not allow that to happen? That's not
No,
wise, you know? There are some challenges with access management.
Yeah.
That we need to be cognizant of when crafting land use on that corridor, because that corridor is right on the cusp of needing some significant geometric improvements for left turn access if some of these things
Yeah.
develop the way that they might.
Yeah.
Well, how does that play out? Seems like what happens, and I think what will eventually happen in downtown Enfield is that town will grow, will build up, the traffic will get worse and worse, and then all of a sudden, maybe the calculations show that instead of 3 stars on a project, we get 10, and we get funded for improvements. Is that generally the way it?
I mean, there is no project on the section of Route 4 that we're talking about.
Yeah, so if we say, for instance, I'm saying we will, but let's just say we have no road frontage requirements on any of the lots along there. Everything about that access has got to go through the DOT.
Yes,
So they will dictate what they will allow. It really won't be, it might not conform to what we say the property owner can do. But that's okay. That's another agency. They have to. We're missing something.
I mean, it seems if we don't give it some thought, it's a recipe to anger and confuse some applicants that think they're conforming to a relatively flexible town requirement, only to find that the road can't handle it when they go for a driveway permit, and then they get frustrated and they can't do what they want to do. And it becomes a whole, hard feelings and everything else that go into
But
that.
how do you figure all that out ahead of time?
Well, there are a few different ways. I mean, some towns have access management MOUs with DOT. They say, here's where we want the accesses to be on this challenging section of road. And we want you, state, to agree to review your driveway permits with these desires. That's not, I mean, that's a little bit beyond zoning, but that's, the way that some of it happens, but,
but no, I think you're correct that access through 4 is the biggest challenge.
yes.
But I don't think that impacts like the land use table. Like we've gone through that.
The table of uses, it doesn't
Right,
affect.
It doesn't affect that.
We should think about it in the context of
Right.
density and scale
Right.
of what
And-
would happen.
well, and so I think there's really only one scenario, right? So if somebody, where it happens is if somebody wanted to subdivide and have lots of accesses, right? Like if somebody wanted to have a single access to one of those lots and then subdivide internal, build their own road
Mhm.
system, and that would not have access issues per se, like they.
Depending on where their access is located and site distance and
Right, but
speed, all of that.
But I'm just saying, like one access per existing
Yes.
lot.
Or a frontage road, which is you create a parallel road to serve all the development, but that might be challenging given our topography, but.
Yeah, well, and certainly that would require lots of landowners to work together, because
Right,
certainly the town's not.
but your scenario is far more common and likely in this.
Right, but I mean, like, is there a way to do that of like saying basically what, like something along the lines of, well, like one thing that's written here is like the 1/8 of an acre per dwelling unit, that reduces the density, currently we're allowed 12. So I definitely I don't think we should have any sort of density requirement there, but I think you're right. Is there a way to write in like one access per existing lot? But then once you're inside your lot, you can do as you please.
It seems like a reasonable proposition.
Like including, like if somebody wanted to subdivide and put it in a report, they could, but making it very clear, you're building your own road. If that's the proposal you want to put in.
Yeah,
I mean,
and, you know, there
And
is,
saying it up front.
you don't have to look too hard at the map of the Route 4 district to figure out where that would come into play.
Right, but again, I think you're right, like you put it up front of like, you're gonna have to get an access for Route 4. You can have one for your existing lot. And you're gonna be responsible for all the infrastructure, which is not a zoning thing, but it's a clear statement. Effectively, and then you can do what you want with your lot, but you're gonna have one access to that existing lot.
If permitted by DOT.
Correct. Yeah, correct, yeah, if somebody doesn't have a safe place to put access, sorry, there's not much we can do about it.
And once you're in, our existing, essentially driveway ordinance, which says town standards, if it's doing, 3 or more,
Right,
individual lots.
Right.
Or, I guess that's what it says. We could maybe say if it's 3 or more dwelling units. I don't know.
The one access is important.
Yeah.
Because that is an access management thing. A lot of places want 2 curb cuts so you can have a jug handle and come out the other side. We don't want 2 curb cuts.
yeah, no,
Right.
I think if you look at what's down there, then one is the right. You know, and if somebody really has a strong argument, they go get a special, then go get an exception, that's what those exist for.
Mhm.
But as a general rule, people should be planning around a single curb cut.
I mean, DOT allows, I'm not a transportation expert, so I'm not, but I wanna say it was 300 feet and they allow 2 driveways in 300 feet.
It could be, I don't have the driveway. policy in front of me.
So I mean,
Could we just say?
would,
it
so
has to
can-
Follow DOT.
so if there was a lot with
Requirements.
300 and DOT permitted them to have 2, cause I think of like, there is a lot along Route 4 that has 2 driveway access at least, if not 1, 2 right there. And so I think that's allowed because it's, you know, the 300. So I guess my question is, if you're saying there's just 1, are you stricter than the DOT? How does, I'm
I'm
That
suggesting
needs some
one for
research.
existing lot,
Or at least one as permitted by
DOT.
DOT.
because I think that the challenge, the thing would be, if somebody subdivided it and then applied for driveways.
Well, yeah.
They're gonna get denied by DOT.
Okay. But we probably wouldn't even want to allow that subdivision. If they can't get a driveway. to the
Well,
lot.
I mean, I will say there was recently up in Orford.
Yep.
On Route 10. 3 1-acre lots that were subdivided and DOT gave them all their driveway permits. And the frontage was 50 feet.
Well, in that case, DOT said, we got no problem.
Well,
Yeah.
Well, no, because Route 10 in Orford has a hell of a lot less
Yeah,
traffic than Route
it's a
4
completely
in
different, it's a
Enfield.
completely different end.
Yeah. But I'm just saying it's,
But,
right,
but
there's a
you-
lot of factors to
You
consider.
can, I don't know, a lot of towns that do it, but it is possible that, you know, a town can have an MOU with DOT that says, here's the access management that both the town and the DOT agree should happen in this particular corridor. And when DOT gets driveway permits, they'll evaluate those permits through that shared lens. So, you know, you don't necessarily have to, you know,
Mhm,
think that there
Yeah.
should be curb cuts every
right.
100 feet or whatever.
Mhm.
Well, I'm still trying to get in my head.
But we don't have that right now, so.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
if our zoning ordinance says you can do all these things with your lot, and you don't have to have minimum size and whatever else, and then these are all the uses, and so they come up with a plan. And DOT, they want 3 curb cuts, and DOT says, no, we're only gonna allow you 1 right here because of this and that,
Mhm.
and problem solved. I mean, we don't determine that. It's just like,
You're approved.
Well,
kind of like,
We both have a stake. We control the land use and they control the access. We can both create a problem. We could both try to, you know, prevent issues.
well, I understand that, but, I just, I just wonder if we're just kind of overly complicating this.
So what, in Route 4, besides the form base needs to go? Okay, that's a clear, like, take that out. You have 12 units per acre. So if someone has 2 acres, they could have 24 units.
I don't think there need to be any limit in that particular section of town. That's the one section where if you wanted to have real high density, that's the place to do it.
With a cap at 40 feet height,
Mhm.
lot coverage requirement.
Well, why 40 if we're going to 50 downtown?
I mean, again, like if something happened even remotely at that scale without a substantial capital improvement, which isn't happening. I mean, you're talking about major traffic impacts in it. I don't even know that, I mean, it would be anything that happened even remotely at a scale that size is gonna necessitate traffic signals, which is gonna necessitate turn lanes, which is gonna necessitate widening of roads and, you know, and right-of-way impacts on both sides, and you got a floodplain at play and everything else.
And that's a
You're talking
50-year
like,
project.
it's, you know,
So they probably wouldn't. they wouldn't
density
manage
of
it
that
right.
scale is, I don't know if it's feasible.
Fortunately, Laramie Farms is on the other side of the traffic jam.
Well-
This would be doubly
So,
complicated.
so with that in mind, is there a reason to not allow it? Like if somebody were able to solve all those problems?
If somebody was able to solve all those problems, yeah, I mean,
I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying like, is that a reason to not allow it? Like, to me, it's allow it. If somebody can work through all that, hey,
has anybody come to us and said, you know what, I really, 12 acres is such a constraint, I can't, or 12 units per acre, you know, I want to do so much more there, but I just can't because of the zoning.
yes.
Or 12 units per acre?
Yeah, we had that concept where the guy was limited and he was only doing 18 or something because of that.
Which lot was that?
The one that slopes down, it's,
Lot.
yeah, across from the old Shaker Valley, across from the bingo hall, across from Pellerins.
Yeah,
The guy limited the number of units he put into that proposal because of the 12 acres. Sorry, the 12 per acre.
12 per, yeah.
It was
So-
up by Connected Auto.
Yeah, it was one of those, I forget which lot exactly in there.
Was there slope issues there that were
Yeah.
challenging?
He did, yes, but he's still, his limitation on the number of units he was proposing was the prescribed density.
Actually, he only asked for 12. It was Dan who said, well, why don't you ask for 18? So we did.
We'd have to look back. My memory was that he had 20 and was told he could only have 18, but I could be wrong.
I'm
Okay,
real sure
okay. Linda's probably right.
on this one.
Yep.
Because I was horrified at the amount of slope.
Mhm.
And he said he had to put in 500,000 yards of fill.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's a reason why he didn't do it. There's a reason why he didn't
It
do
was
it.
just crazy.
Yeah.
Well, what if we use the same
But,
Nate amendment?
well, but that's the one section of town where
Yeah.
there's no real,
Doesn't matter there.
right. Those are the lots where we would want more density. So the other thing, that we've had, that people have struggled with is the only allowing housing, whatever the distance back from the road is.
600 feet.
The form.
Yeah,
Right. No, this was a distance like you weren't allowed to have first floor housing until you were 600 feet back.
Oh, right.
So that's another one that was, that people would come with.
We have a
proposals.
special exception application right now from the
Yeah.
people that we saw a couple
Okay.
weeks ago.
So
Yeah,
that,
I could see that, you know, that probably, I mean, the reasoning behind that was people wanted mixed use close to Route 4. They,
Right.
you know, they didn't want
Right.
residential only, they wanted mixed use next to the
Yeah.
road, and it hasn't developed that way clearly.
I think that's another, the requiring mixed use was another one that just didn't work.
Yeah, it didn't.
I think we want to encourage it, like that is the place we want mixed use, but
Yeah, we had a
require,
conceptual here the other day, that was
Right.
perfect.
it was,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But requiring it didn't, that was another piece that didn't work.
And how many units was that one? Was that 12 on her lot?
She was saying what, 8 to 10? 8 to
It was
12?
tough.
yeah,
just
somewhere in that
below.
neighborhood.
Okay.
At the medical
Right.
place.
It was
there's
6
a
or
lot
8
Next to it.
individual businesses and then 6 or 8 apartments above,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, it was something like that.
So she was gonna be able to do retail or commercial underneath.
That
Yeah.
was their concept.
Okay.
Just wanted a bakery.
Yeah, it was a great concept.
In a laundromat.
In a laundromat. I heard laundromat. That's right.
I guess she pays the water bill.
But I think in terms of what we allow, that's the section where if they can work through the issues and
But
we'll go for it.
so work through issues, but then I'm also hearing some kind of density cap. No,
Well, I'm not, I'm really more for just, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
In that area. So,
I'm a worrier.
Nate's,
I'm a worrier.
I think if they could figure out a way to get around any roadblocks they have, they should be able to do it.
I don't know that. I haven't really heard that the 12 units per acre is a huge impingement, and my sense is that it's pretty close to a reasonable density for the Route 4 area. I personally wouldn't mind continuing 12 units per acre there. That's I think a reasonable density for, I would be in favor of getting rid of the 600-foot thing and making it easier. I don't think that's worked as it intended. But and even, somebody make a compelling argument for 16 units per acre.
I was just gonna do that because we're allowing 16 units per acre in the rest of the village.
Yeah, so I mean, then I would be amenable to that, I think, which is an upzoning over existing. And my bigger concern with Route 4 is the non-residential only property, development opportunities there and what the guardrail might be for that.
commercial.
Are we looking at, the existing Route 4 has a square footage cap for building footprint?
16,000 square feet.
No, that's,
That's the minimum lot size.
there's a square footage cap.
I think it's 20.
It was basically
40,000.
the anti-giant big box provision.
Trader Joe's could fit and Aldi's could fit. That's about it.
Yeah. If the rest of, if the non-residential development kind of, is gonna be governed by impervious surface caps or something again, but again, some of these sites,
Mhm.
you could
Mhm.
do a incredible, amount of stuff on some of these sites. And I don't know, building footprint 40,000 square foot max.
So Rob, could you put up the EV4 map?
No, look at my shooting.
So as we go there, do we want, so the current lot size is about 3/4, 15,000 square feet, ballpark.
Mhm.
Do we want to change that so that somebody could do a cottage court in there and subdivide
Change it to, what are you thinking?
to something that matched the rest of the village?
Well, I think the residential,
Because that would be a purely residential. No one doing commercial would ever do a subdivision like that. So the question is, on the residential side, do you want to allow somebody to build that out in the same way somebody could treat their property in the rest of the village?
yes.
Which would mean changing that minimum lot size to match Enfield Village.
Yeah, that makes,
Yeah,
makes sense to be consistent. And yeah,
but instead of the kind of step up that we had in Enfield Village of 4 plus 1, 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 7, I would think 16 units per acre by right in EV4.
I think the big,
Period. And then having the minimum lot size be something that,
the big lots need to be treated differently.
Yes.
Agreed, but I'm asking specifically around if somebody wanted to go in, they put in their own road because they got one access or something, and they want to subdivide and sell small cottage court lots. That strikes me as a reasonable thing to do.
I would be amenable.
So let's match allow Enfield Village to be built on Route 4, basically.
Yeah.
Okay, so now on to the big size.
Yeah, and
Which is more likely.
well, yeah, and it's probably the big parcel.
Yeah.
That's gonna, be the one that gets developed, or
Right.
the one that has the most development interest.
Which one is that?
The one behind Shaker Auto, right?
Yep.
Well, so their access issue is kind of takes care of itself. We got three ways in there. There's two accesses off of Route 4 and there's one off of Lovejoy Brook. And if they put a Amazon warehouse back there that no one's gonna even see.
Those generate a lot of traffic.
So just thinking that.
Yeah, and
So check out the one in Hooksett, exit 10, yes.
so that then comes down to DOT evaluating this as they are with Laramie and.
Well, but it comes down to us too.
Land
What do we
use,
want there?
if
This
it's
is,
allowed.
we control the land use.
Yeah.
What do we want to see in the Route 4 area? And
Well.
an Amazon warehouse is never gonna happen there because it's not a strategic location for that
No.
sort of thing anyway, but.
So that's a very good question, and, you know, our efforts have been for the last 3 years have been all about housing, increasing housing. I don't think we've had one discussion about increasing commercial, you know, retail or whatever services in the town. That's,
We did spend years working on that. And the reality is that so many people worked in town with better services at cheaper prices. It didn't support the businesses here.
and with a, with a denser housing districts in town, we might find that those businesses will follow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
The businesses that are here on Route 4, that whole section of Route 4 is the pressure, the development pressure there to the extent that it exists is for automobile oriented commercial businesses. If you look at what happened there, what do we have? We got a Bobcat dealer coming in. There's a car wash that got built there now. These are drive-in, drive-out businesses next to the road. That has historically been what's happened there. I don't think rezoning the area is all of a sudden gonna change that dynamic. That will continue to be what gets proposed on Route 4 or automobile-oriented businesses. The reason that the 40,000 square foot cap was in there was to allow, you know, something of a medium size, but prevent the type of big box sort of development that other parts of the region have, and that might be too much for Enfield to take. Do we want that type of provision in this ordinance? 40,000 square feet is it's a Trader Joe's size kind of footprint, not a Walmart size footprint.
so it's a 200 by 200 building. That helps.
was your question, do we want to allow it or do we not want to allow it?
That's in the existing Route 4 district,
Okay.
and it's there, I would say, as a guardrail. A limitation on the scale of non-residential development that would happen in the corridor. Do you want that type of provision in an updated Route 4 district?
I would keep it.
There was a lot of other things in there that slowed progress down in there as well. Just,
We're gonna get rid of all of that.
yeah, that's
Now
what,
we're
but
just trying to figure out what do we put back, right? And, so,
I think removing those opens up a lot of doors. I like the size. That's a nice 200 by 200 square foot building.
Would that apply only to a pure commercial?
I mean, it's a cap on any building footprint.
Well, that's what-
In reality, it's, you know, it's gonna be the commercial that probably most.
Most likely, but
Yeah.
if somebody's building apartments, I mean, I think it visually it looks very different.
I don't have any way to judge it. Just gonna kind of defer to Nate's experience and say, that sounds like okay to me.
I mean, it's a medium-sized chain store, basically 40,000 square feet, but not a
And then
big box
And that's
department store.
footprint, not interior square footage.
Right, it's a footprint.
Building size, yeah.
Well, no,
7 stories tall.
Well, no, well, that,
No, no.
no, that's what I'm asking. If you do a two-story, that's, you know.
So, yeah, is that the footprint or is that the whole?
It's the footprint.
Footprint.
So. There's a nice, like, the one next to E-Hop is like a 5 acre lot. So if they wanted to build townhouses or condos back there. Do we want to limit them in the square footage they can do?
We don't limit residential anywhere else.
I mean, their limitation would be density.
Yeah.
Well, no,
yeah.
but if we have a square footage. Of building, because they'd be building multiple buildings, and we're limited to that. So, to that.
I mean,
square footage.
I mean, we could specify that however we wanted. I know the intent of that.
Yeah, no,
Was
yeah.
non-residential.
Yeah, no, it's the dichotomy of like.
Yeah.
Like, we want a market basket, but we're not gonna let you build a building big enough to build a market basket, right?
Are there 40,000 square foot market baskets? There are.
I don't know, you know what I mean, like, we don't want a box store, but we want a box store.
Yeah,
I think
I
on
mean,
the-
I would, well, no.
Can I think on the
mention that if Market Basket said, we wanna put a supermarket in your town on one of these lots,
Mhm.
we really wanna do it, but you've got this 40,000 square foot problem. That would be an oh shucks kind of thing, wouldn't
I mean, you know, there's a variance process if there's a compelling reason, but
it? What should the number be?
I mean, you know,
I
Again.
thought for this year, we have 40,000 square feet.
I think we
And
should
if we
limit it to
feel we're
commercial
wrong,
space.
we change it next year.
Yeah, I think we should limit it to commercial space, though. I think on the residential side, there's a lot of different things.
I'm fine with that. That was the
Yeah.
intent.
Yeah.
So if you did a plaza that was 40,000 square feet.
Mhm.
And you put residences above it, that doesn't count towards the 40,000.
Correct. Or say on one of those big lots, you put a plaza in the front and then you put townhouses in the back.
Mhm.
Your plaza is limited to your 40,000 square feet, but your townhouses don't count towards that.
Right, it's a footprint, yeah.
Yeah.
No, but also like on a single lot, they could have more.
Oh, yeah.
Right, like, because there's a couple of lots where you could envision where somebody would have some commercial up at the front, but the lot goes deep enough to then have, you know,
I
townhouse.
mean, we could define that however, but I think the intent of the way it was worded in the existing ordinance was that an individual building footprint couldn't exceed that.
Right.
Okay. That sounds good.
Yeah.
You were anxious to say something.
Oh, I was just gonna, the one thing I was offered, very specific to housing, is I think a floor plate of 40,000 is very large for any kind of
Yeah.
housing. Typically, the widest you're gonna get, for the most part, is like 65 to 70 feet in the US building code, because you have about units on either side, they're each 30 feet, so you end up right around 65 to 70 feet.
Mhm.
So it'd be a really long building and 40,000 square feet of a floor plate, floor plate.
Excuse me.
So the thing we moved forward, does that answer the questions that were in your mind?
That the big question?
So what did we end up at? 16 units per acre
By right?
by right?
Yeah,
Sub,
Keep
sub,
the- yeah.
40,000 for commercial.
Residential.
I thought we said we were gonna duplicate the Enfield Village.
residential, no, so the difference is residential subdivision, same as Enfield Village.
Mhm.
However, Enfield Village, what we went to was 4 per lot plus 1 per quarter acre bigger. This, Nate's suggesting 16 per acre regardless.
Yeah. 16 per acre by right.
By right. So if you have a 1 acre lot in Enfield Village, you can have 7 units. If you have a 1 acre lot in Route 4, you can have 16.
Mhm.
So.
Which would give you the possibility of going up higher,
Right.
which in that section of town wouldn't be a
A
problem.
third story is,
Where it would be a problem in the village or
Right.
the downtown.
right,
What did you say it was in the village per acre?
but the first acre is 7. The acres after that are 4, correct? What Nate has said, what Nate has suggested here is that every acre is 16.
Yeah.
1 acre is 16, 2 acres is 32.
Right.
Whereas in the village, 1 acre is 7, 2 acres is 11.
Correct.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very reasonable. Is it?
I guess we're all agreed. What else do we need for Route 4?
Front yard.
Do you need
I
total
was gonna
lot?
say
No, sorry, frontage.
frontage.
I mean, I think Nate's on to something. I don't wanna have like, how quickly can we get out of town be our metric?
Yeah.
That should not be our metric, like how fast can we drive on Route 4? But he's right, access is in that section is important.
Existing is 100 feet. I would
Mhm.
recommend we just leave it
Leave
there.
it. That's
Sounds
okay.
good.
I mean, and yeah, and then, you know, we had talked about a little bit of that front yard, like, do you want slowing mechanisms? Right? You must slow traffic down through Route 4, yes?
If there's something
How
simple,
do we do that?
yeah,
It's a state road.
But there's ways that you can kind of, like, if there's, you know, if your front yard requirement like that, 600 feet for residential, that's really far back. So that's gonna make people fly, right? But if you
Right.
have your housing closer, then it actually there's calming with some, like, how close you can get to the.
I don't see that on
No.
Route 4.
Okay. That might
I
not
mean,
have been.
Maybe
Maybe
other
not.
people do.
Well, it sounds like
So-
a big formula and I just don't want.
Well, the way that the Route 4 current did that was, you know, they came up with this idea of a maximum front setback. The maximum front setback then by default brings the buildings closer to the
Right.
road, so you don't, and that was kind of also a anti-big box provision.
yeah.
They didn't want a sea of parking and a building,
Yeah.
you know, a tenth of a mile that way, that, you know, they didn't want that dynamic driving
Yeah.
through Route 4,
Right.
so that was, you know,
Right, and that's one where I personally agree, but it's just too complicated.
Yeah.
That's another piece that didn't work.
Yeah.
So I think we should ignore it.
So no
So no.
maximum. So you can place your building wherever you want on the lot on Route 4. And if you want a ton of parking in front, that's okay.
You mean you can put it right at your property line?
Well, there will be.
Well, like, there would still be some setbacks.
I mean, a minimum, but yeah, getting rid of that provision does mean that you've opened the door to a sea of parking in a building that's way, way back.
I just don't see the land available to do that though.
Well, it's just, it's asking the person who's building it to flip, instead of putting their parking all in the front and push their back,
Put it to the side.
put it to the side and have the parking come to the side and the building being closer, kind of, unfortunately, kind of like the Family Dollar, I suppose, in a way, right?
Well,
It's sideways
That's the way it
faced.
is. It just.
Yeah, because it has to come up.
Well, the maximum setback did have enough room to allow you know, that one row of parking for ADA purposes
Yeah.
and quick and easy kind of in and out access, but
Mhm.
the way the maximum setback was structured was you really could only fit one
Mhm.
row of parking in front of the building and the rest was
Mhm.
either to the side or behind. And on the north side of Route 4, there probably are some places where that could happen without a maximum front setback. On the
Mhm.
south side of Route 4, I don't think so.
Mhm.
But on the north side of Route 4, there might be a couple of places where you could see that dynamic.
Well, that would involve buying up lots that are frontage on Route 4 and then opening up the back. It just. Yeah, I think we should just stick with a standard front setback and side and rear setbacks.
So no closer to the road than X But they can set it back as far as they want.
Yep.
Cause that's my one, that would be my recommendation would be to not toss out the maximum.
Yeah, I don't love tossing it out either, to be honest, as we're talking through it.
I would not
Use the
toss it.
branding for it.
Like, so,
Just remind us, what is the
Yeah.
maximum?
I think the maximum right now is 60.
Less than 2 stories, it is 25 feet
Yeah.
minimum and 55 maximum. And 2 or greater, 25 minimum and 80 maximum.
Is, do we think that maximum had any impact on?
Page 24, Renee,
Okay,
if you're scrolling through,
24.
24,
there we go.
there you go.
Yeah, has that ever tangibly presented an issue where somebody was like, gosh, I have to have
Well, I think,
10 rows of parking in
so
front of my
it did
building?
impact the Family Dollar, if I'm remembering correctly. I mean, that's why they have parking on the side,
Cause
Yeah,
they had to
conform-
bring
Yeah,
it
they had to
forward.
conform.
Right.
Conform.
which. Yeah, I mean,
Well, the good news is they don't have enough business to run out of parking spaces.
I mean, you
I
know,
like the
guess-
idea of having buildings up close to Route 4, but that's a personal preference, not something I necessarily think we should mandate.
Well, I mean, but it does, you know, part of this is you're creating a sense of place and how the area develops over
Yeah.
time. And there's something to be said for having the buildings
There is.
closer to the road to make it feel more like a village that's
Yeah.
stitched together and coherent.
No,
Mhm.
I think you're right, and it definitely feels less like a strip mall.
Yes,
Like a 12A, where you've got
Yeah, no, it,
whoosh, like a.
which is part of the,
box
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, you know, I don't want to point fingers at 12A. 12A is
No.
very important.
No,
thing, but,
exactly.
You know,
Yeah.
that's part of why that's there.
Mhm.
What if we have one max, regardless of the building?
yeah,
I think the staggered max was for the larger places to potentially have 2 rows of parking in front of the building versus 1 row. But yeah, I mean, whatever your preference is.
but if we just had 80-foot max, would that accommodate everybody? Or 60-foot max, yeah,
Well, I mean, the difference is a row of parking there. So,
Yeah.
you know,
But that's what I'm
one
asking.
row of parking versus 2. What
yeah,
do
but
you want
that's,
to see in front of the
so,
building?
so is. I think Tim's right, make it simple, like, pick one number if you're gonna do it.
Just make it
I would go with the 60 personally, and if they need more parking, there's the sides and the back.
60 would give you 2 rows in the front.
No,
No,
That's only
60 gives you the one row.
one in an aisle.
So that's kind of, but you still have to have a right of way through the parking lot. So would it be better to have the 85
Well, that you can fit a, you know, travel way and 1 row of parking in there.
in 60?
Yeah. Then you could fit a travel way and 2 rows of parking in 80.
Okay.
Each 6, 1/2 dozen. Go.
2 rows of parking.
That's not bad. I don't think 2 rows of parking is bad.
Just as ugly as 1 row.
It's just a little more convenient.
Well, yeah, it might be a little uglier than.
Yeah, I'm not sure I see a problem with 2 rows of parking. Aisle in the middle, and then you've got, get some room for some greenery happening up front.
Yeah, then maybe 80 feet is our compromise then. Everybody okay with 80 feet?
Sure.
Yeah.
So max 80.
Now, this only applies to commercial structures.
I,
No.
It would
that
apply to
applies to
I
everything.
think
Yeah.
everything,
Um,
the principal building,
Along Route 4.
yes, along Route.
Right.
That won't present any problem.
Not along the other side road.
No, it's not,
Apartment
yeah,
building,
it's
they'll
the
have
outside.
parking on the sides anyway.
Parking on, well, they'll have, in this case, 2 rows in front and whatever else they need on the side or behind.
Yeah, and they don't have to have the 2 rows.
And they don't.
It just allows them
Yeah.
to do that,
Mhm.
yeah. And on the residential side, it would require them to build some housing up by the road.
Okay, yeah, that's very.
So yeah, this was all specific to building placement along Route 4.
Mhm.
But it would also apply along Ledger Brook Road.
That's a different thing, building placement along streets other than Route 4, which I think had
Okay,
different,
just one.
and I don't remember what those are.
So we want to preserve that part, right?
That had no maximum, see? It's just a minimum front on the side streets.
The closest you can.
The maximum was just on Route 4 to pull those buildings closer to the road.
Yeah,
The side streets just had a minimum.
yeah.
Because we've got McConnell, Lovejoy,
Got Hardy Lane at the end.
Hardy Lane.
And then on the other side, there's Notary.
Potentially Lindop, which is now class 6.
Yeah,
Yeah. But we probably should put that clause in there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Side streets, same as the village.
So 15 frontage, 20, or sorry, 20 feet front, 15 side and rear, with the exception of could go to 5 feet for storage shed, driveway or parking. Think it would make sense for the side streets
You know,
in there.
you don't know. In the village, if you go to 15-foot setbacks and you have a 1/10 of an acre lot, or between a 1/10 and an eighth of an acre, that does become, that makes it difficult. And I wonder if we shouldn't just, go 10, 10, 10 and 10 on the side and rear in the village.
Just a car length between houses,
well, you end up 20 feet between.
lots of
No,
car length,
I got short.
or pickup length.
Yes, pick up.
Unless you have you could have an existing home that's within 5 feet of the setback on the adjacent lot, and you're 10, so it could be as little as 15 between homes. That can happen,
Depending how they're oriented, yeah,
yeah.
the street. Or possibly 10 for those, okay. And then that would follow over to Route 4.
Or,
Just, looking at the time, it's
Yeah,
10 minutes to
Yes.
9. We have next Wednesday to continue doing some final
Mhm.
refining, but
mhm,
it might be a good use of our final 10 minutes here to think of the plan, the general plan for the Saturday, session. And I guess what I would recommend, I don't know if I recommend, but I'll pitch it as a starting point, is we do something very similar to what we did last time with breakout groups for each district, except in the, with an overview. And breakout, the majority being discussions of each of the districts, but perhaps with a poster or something of the key provisions that we've come up with here for each of those districts, and just have a conversation with people about, what do you think? Or, what do you think of this or that? I mean, that's really the point, right? We want to talk in general about, here's some of the things that we're thinking about. We're honing in on all the stuff that we've been talking about. Lay those out in a series of kind of high level bullet points of what we're thinking about in each district in terms of density and dimension, land use density and dimensional controls, and talk with people and see what they think about that.
Yeah.
And have a discussion of each district kind of rotating around the room like we did last time.
Can we have handouts with all of the land use and dimensional tables so that we can give people basically to take home with them?
so this one page and then also like this just the bottom half of the proposed, and then also the land use table, which is about 9 pages. But yeah, so we can put those packets together.
There's three key documents, the map,
Mhm.
the land use table, and these dimensional controls. And not just the new ones, but the existing.
Yeah, I'd like to see both of
So you
them.
need,
Side by side.
so those are the, to me, those are the three key documents, things like, you know, lighting. We don't
need that.
We don't need to talk about that. Like, that's a piece of it, you know, signage, that's a piece of it, but we don't need to talk about signage. You know, those are the three things, the map, the use table, and the dimensional controls.
And then at each of the tables, we just
Existing-
have a discussion of right track, wrong track. Are we on the
Yeah.
right track or are we on the wrong,
Yeah.
you know,
So I imagine a lot of it being scenarios, like I imagine a lot of the questions being like, well, what about this? And they're gonna say like, what about, you know, the quarter acre lot with 30 units on it? And talking through like why that's not actually possible.
Yeah.
Because
Mhm.
you're not gonna be able to have 30 parking spaces, you're limited to this height, and you're limited to these setbacks. I think it's gonna be a lot of talking through. That's sort of what I envision, is a lot of talking through scenarios.
And I think we need some,
So I think we almost wanna present some scenarios.
Yeah.
You know, and like some of the, like trying to make every lot in the village as it exists now conforming. To me, that's an important piece of what we're trying to do, like, so that you as a property owner today don't have to go to the ZBA to put on a deck simply because your lot is smaller than somebody wrote in the zoning ordinance in 1992. And it's always been smaller than that.
unless your deck is gonna violate a setback.
Correct. No, and then explain to everybody, and there are still limits, but you know.
And these scenarios, I think a visual showing an eighth of an acre lot. This is what, the kind of things you can do on here, and obviously these are the kind of things this doesn't work. On a half acre lot and so forth.
someone remind me, what is our time window for that session?
I think we're gonna do 9 to 11 again, or 9 to 11 in the morning,
9 to
Yeah.
11,
Let me
and
see.
but we could go and have it 8 to noon
8 to noon?
is what it's reserved for right now.
Oh.
So also location, did you update that on that? Yeah. Location.
Whitney Hall.
Whitney Hall.
Auditorium. top
Okay.
floor.
Do we have breakout space?
There's a back room in the back that would work really well.
Okay.
So that'd be one space.
Do we have
And
tables?
I think, and there are tables, and we have some tables that we can provide as well. At least 2. So I think we'd be able to make it work.
Okay,
And probably set the back of the room up into 2 sections, have seating in the front, similar to what we did with the ADU Expo. And I think a huge thing that I think would be great for this is the visual display. Like that projector is amazing on that wall, I will say. And so for folks to really get the visual aspect of this is gonna be huge. And so, to your point, having those visuals available and up on that huge wall, will make it really easy for folks to see and understand.
and your team will organize all of those visuals?
Yes, we will facilitate. And, if anyone has anything, I mean, these are great too. We can use, some of these if you want, Tim, and put those up there too, but we
Well,
can
let's
also
talk
be
about that.
existing, yeah. Yep.
Side, we can,
Mhm. We can pull from other.
How is the
Yeah.
word getting out to the public?
So we mentioned it at the ADU Expo and had quite a few folks interested in coming because they were kind of like, well, why can't I do this? It's not really ADU, but so I definitely pitched it and let people know about that with location to be determined.
Town newsletter,
Mm-hmm.
town message board in front of the community building, the programmable one that,
Town newsletter comes out first of the month, yeah.
Yep. the.
Oh, the
social media-
programmable one on the, yeah, that's good, yeah.
Social media, we've got that. We're gonna do listserv.
Yeah.
Any other recommendations?
I'm gonna say 9 to 11 is probably the window that, I don't know that we need to, I think it deters people.
Yeah.
When you have more than a 2-hour window,
Yeah.
I don't think we need more than a 2-hour window on a Saturday.
Yeah.
good to know we got till 12 though to have side conversations.
Yeah.
So it wasn't clear to me going to the ADU thing, whether I was supposed to be there at 9. And it said drop-ins welcome, and I thought, drop-ins welcome. Oh, well, they must just have tables then and there's no presentation.
Hmm.
So some people came in, you know, late and that was until 12, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yes, it
Yeah.
was. Yeah, it was a longer.
So, you know, it had broken up and people were walking around the tables around the edge by 11.
Mhm.
And some people came in just sort of looking around what's going on. So they need to know that there's a starting point and an ending point.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And I
think.
would
I think
suggest
what
And
you're
it's
asking-
like,
Yeah.
can we call
Yeah.
it a workshop
Yeah, I mean.
or whatever?
Call it a
gives you-
charrette.
Whatever gives you the,
A forum, workshop, pick a
yeah,
word.
I could Google that.
I think forum probably.
I know what's going on
Forum.
now.
Yeah.
I don't
Forum
know.
is good.
That's my word of choice tonight.
That's what we
Good
called
change.
it last time. So in April, we had pretty good attendance. We did call it a public forum and we did have a brief agenda of what we were gonna go through.
yeah.
So, and I think, yeah, I think this is definitely more of like a full-time thing than the ADU. That's a good call out. That, you know, there will be chunks of time dedicated to X,
Mhm.
Y, Z. So we outlined that 9 to 11.
Well, we also at that April forum, we took some time at the beginning to put everything in context.
Mm-hmm,
And so we should talk about what we want to do this time.
mm-hmm.
You know, we had a presentation on the housing crisis. Why are we wanting to rewrite the zoning ordinance? What the existing ordinance says and allows in these areas. And then we went into the
Can we maybe allow Renee to put something like that together and brief us in a week, and then we'll comment just in
I'd have,
in favor of limiting the time that we're spending tonight?
yes, one addition to that, you know, setting that stage is important. I might also say, and by the way, here's what we heard in April for those of you who weren't there. Here's what, you know, here's the feedback, you know, a brief, high level
That's a good
summary of what we
idea.
heard in
Yeah.
April
Mm-hmm.
and how we have attempted to distill that into what you're seeing today, right?
Exactly.
So that's, I think that's 4 topics for the contextual part. What we split those up and we each made a presentation. And I think that's good and that it gets more of us involved in making the presentation. Do we want to do that again?
I mean, I thought, well, I think David probably should open it as the chair and welcome people and kind of, you know, whatever the first piece of that is, probably be most appropriate. If we're gonna talk about kind of higher level housing needs regionally or statewide or anything, Renee or her team is probably best suited to do that. Probably good for Eric to have some role in it. I think he did last time as well as a select board representative to the board, so that, you know, demonstrate that there's engagement there, you know, and then if there's another topic, we could draw straws or something for it.
Well, it would be the, what the existing ordinance allows. And then as you added the part about what we heard in April.
What we heard in April.
You want to do what we heard in April?
I can try, yeah.
I don't know that going into what the existing ordinance allows in an opening speech is a constructive use of time if we have it summarized in the chart.
Yeah, if people are gonna get handouts, then we don't need to.
You know, they're gonna come in, they're gonna pick up the handouts and they are going to read them, hopefully.
Let's say, talk about what's what we're proposing could happen. And then he'll ask questions about why those things are being changed, and then we can go into the what's existing and the workaround, but I think talking about both of them, I think would add confusion to it. Talk about what's proposed and then let the questions follow.
So then we get to part of actually presenting the bulk of the new ordinance. Who's gonna do that?
I think Renee and her team should be charged with that. Because she's our hired consultant and I think it would be good for the public to hear it from a consultant rather than from any of us, because that lends some professional authority. No offense to you, Nate.
I'm taking it.
But my one suggestion for formatting that is to make sure they're able to present the whole thing before we take questions.
Absolutely.
Like we should say they're gonna present all of it and then,
And then we'll have questions.
right, no middle of the road, no questions in the middle, because
Right.
it'll throw their presentation off. It'll also just
Yeah,
take all the time.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, just like tonight, like, you know.
yeah.
We got through some stuff tonight.
You know, we got a lot, but I just feel like it's very easy to go down one
It's
little.
it's very easy to get
I
sucked
think
down the rabbit hole.
Structurally, we should give,
Yes.
that should be a presentation that is made in its entirety
Yeah,
prior to any questions.
So we do have, we don't have to figure every detail out tonight. We have next Wednesday
right.
to do final preparations. Renee, do you have what you need, you know, to be able to come back with a draft agenda, run of
Mhm.
show, you know, whatever,
Yeah.
that we could walk through in detail next Wednesday and then,
Yeah.
we can spend our time next Wednesday doing final refinements to everything we
Mhm.
talked about tonight and our plan
Mhm.
for the following
Exactly.
Saturday.
I think
That's
so.
good.
I think I heard four things. I should make sure I have them, I guess, for the agenda thing. So I have David opening remarks. Kind of like, why are we here? Segment. And then, housing needs. Renee / team of existing, existing regional, maybe again, more housing need focus, quick recap. And then Nate, what we heard in April. Am I missing something after that before we jump into new ordinance? Eric was gonna do,
What we heard.
I can, yeah, I'm
Tag
happy
team
to
it?
do whatever.
or was there,
I think there's,
or per,
I
Were we
think
gonna
it's important
have-
for Eric to have some role in setting the stage, just to show that there's
yeah.
interaction and cooperation and coordination between
Yeah.
what the planning board is doing and the select board, you know, is engaged in that.
So does David open with opening remarks and then Eric goes into why we're here, what started it all? Do you have history onto like, or,
Well, you know,
We
if,
can figure that out
if, if I include hop grants and that
Mhm.
kind of stuff in my opening remarks, that would become a nice segue into Eric,
Mhm.
who could tell us why we're here.
got it.
Then what happens?
Rob, can you
And then-
arrange for coffee and cakes or something? Donut, and put that in the announcements, because that always, it draws a few more people.
Yeah, I get that. So David opening, Eric, why are we here? Housing needs, kind of recap regional, Renee / team. Nate will jump up with what we heard in April. And then RPC team to go back to what is in the new ordinance and
Yeah.
flowing through that.
That works.
Okay.
You have a write-up or summary of the April comments, right? Okay.
Yep, I can send
Are
those
you,
back
do
out.
you wanna put a couple of slides together for that?
Yeah.
And I can just kind of
Yep.
take a look.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Adam has been sitting there patiently for the last 2.5
What a
hours.
trooper.
And I assume he's here not just to listen to us. Or are you?
I mean, I chimed in a couple of times certainly, but I mean, this is very important to what I want to do, but I also think it's great work y'all are doing, and I'm excited. to
Okay.
be able to contribute to the town. It's just like hearing it live, better than the recording.
Well,
All right.
at the end of the evening, did what we seem to have decided on enable you to proceed with your project? If all this
Yes.
comes to be?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's different shapes any kind of project can take that adjusts in slight ways to make it all work. I'm excited for everything y'all are sharing and the upzoning you as a town are doing. And, I mean, just talking, seeing all the new businesses coming in on Main Street, it's really great. And I'm super excited about it. And, yeah, I was talking to Rob earlier about the RFP, for Depot Street and then the Union Street sale and just the parties looking at that. And so it's like a lot of exciting things happening in your town and it's excited to be a part of it. I think in my own kind of developer hat view, I see, especially on the New Hampshire side of the Upper Valley, a lot of apartments in a pipeline. I mean, thousands of apartment units in a pipeline.
Yep.
Which is like a very good contribution to the challenges of the Upper Valley. I see a lot of studio apartments because that's what financially works. And so what I'm trying to do is what happens when people outgrow that studio apartment? I mean, if they want to have a family, do they have to leave the area or can we provide that solution for that next step in their life? And that's really what I'm trying to aim at. And I think what y'all are doing is really helpful in helping accomplish that. So, I mean, thanks for the work you all are doing and I'm just excited to be here and contributing. Thanks to the path you're setting.
Where do you
All right.
live?
I actually live down in Boston right now. I have family in the area and actually my wife's family's been in the Upper Valley for, I mean, on and off about over 100 years now, 110 years, I think is actually a little longer, but, I'm originally from Arizona and, right now is a self-employed developer. What that really means is I don't get paid for any of my work, for a couple of years. And so very, tied to my wife's work and she works at Boston University and that's kind of why we're anchored down there. We'd love to move up here and a little closer to family. But for right now in Boston, I'm actually going to be driving back down there after this. So
Oh, my.
it'll be getting home a little late, but it was worth it to hang in here.
You won't have much traffic, look at it that way.
Yeah. I'll mindful of the speed limit and safety, but I'll make good time tonight.
At this time of day, at least in the 89 part of it, don't worry about the speed limit.
Keep an eye out for the moose.
Yes.
I've
Rob?
never seen a move. It's like
Is
running
there
down
anybody
my
left
wife's
on?
side. I come
Listening?
down the road.
I will do my part to help you get on your way by moving to adjourn the meeting at 9:08 PM.
Good, anybody left? Does anybody want to second Nate's motion?
I did.
You did, I didn't hear that, but thank you. All in favor of adjourning? Aye, opposed, abstentions, adjourned at 9:09. Another
2-1 Blue
marathon.
Jays, top of the fourth.